happens is growing. They're really interesting to look at. It's not grass and wheat and things. We aren't putting goats up on the roof to keep the vegetation down. It's especially special vegetation that keeps, helps with the resistance, and they're drought resistant too, so you're not going to be up there watering the roof. We personally don't like watering the roofs. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me on the facility side? And again, we are farther ahead of you on the facility side. The luxury that we have and that you have is it takes a long time for our facilities to come online, so you have that time to get ready to use that facility. So as you come away from these designs and see what the design is going to look like, picture how you can best use that space for a student-centered education.
Thanks, Mike. And we want to draw the parallel that when we come back next week, while the design team on the facility side is sitting with your staff and people that are involved, I'll be sitting right behind there as somebody pushes back, well, you could never do that, or we've never seen that, or show me the research. Part of my role next week will be to engage in that conversation. So as we transition to the how piece, I want to share a story with you about my first year of teaching. I came from a family of educators and thought that I was an excellent teacher even in college. And I got to the first student teaching experience, and I'll never forget this. I learned that circle really well and what 21st century teaching learning is all about, even in 1992. Because I think you can take that circle and say that a great 21st century teacher listens, they learn what's out there, they try some things, they launch, and then they lead by understanding what doesn't work and what does, and then they listen again. So my story kind of goes like this. I taught the lowest level of senior English as a 21-year-old student teacher. And all the other classes that I was teaching, everybody was engaged, and they loved it. And I got into that class, and nobody was crazy about Shakespeare, right? Nobody was crazy about British literary history. And I remember this one kid, he would always sit in the back, his name was James, and he would look straight down at the floor. And I mean, I consider myself pretty engaging, and I had read the Ruby Payne research, and I would take him out to the hall, and we'd sort of sit with our back against the wall and have these adult conversations. He never said anything. He would just look down. And I mean, this went on for 2 or 3 weeks, and I was considering this a real personal failure. I couldn't get through to him. So I was standing in a lunch line about 4 students back with James, and I heard these kids making fun of him in the lunchroom line. And one of the kids said, James, all he talks about is BMX. All he talks about is these bike riders and how he follows them on TV and does all these sorts of things.